Good morning.
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 Good to see you. Good to be here. Good to have the sun shining, isn't it? We have really earned this sunshine, and I think it's going to be a little warmer this week too, which will be lovely. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for joining us online, you folks out there. Joe's reminding me to put my mic on because it may not be on. And we'll check on it. Now it's on. All right, y'all can hear me. Good. Okay. If anyone needs a mask or anything, back table, we have a box of them and all the usual conveniences. And musicians today, as you can see, are Joe and I. And so we're grateful Michael could be here today to help us with sound. So Joe doesn't have to keep changing hats and going back and forth. Okay, a couple of quick announcements just before we start thinking about prayer, which is always the way we begin. We still have a mask requirement at the church, but there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about CDC coming out with some new guidelines and so on. So we're going to be looking at that and seeing the status of here locally as well, and seeing maybe we can loosen up on that in the near future. We'll see. We'll be looking into that. And there's an ongoing meditation class, just one more session of that, but if you wanted to sit in on it, it's on Zoom. You're certainly welcome to join in. Just make sure we have your email address so we can send you the Zoom invite. Send it to unitydelawareohio@gmail.com. And the other thing coming up is we have our annual meeting coming up in a couple of weeks at this point, I think, March 13, a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock on Zoom. As we did it last year. It's hosted by our Board of Trustees, and Paul Western, our Board President, will be sending out the Zoom invite for that. So if you'd like to attend our annual meeting, it's a good way to hear how the church has been doing and so on. And just, again, make sure you give us your email address. So warm thanks to all of you for joining in. Warm thanks to everyone for your tithes and donations that keep us humming along here. We are grateful for your support. So let's begin to think about prayer, and we have a lot in our hearts and minds this week in the prayer department, wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. All our usual supporting one another in our growth and in our healing needs, and on the international scene, a lot of worries and on our minds and in our hearts. Prayers for the people of Ukraine, prayers for peace, prayers for divine order to be established, prayers for understanding and wisdom and kindness to prevail. So we will take all of that and more into prayer after a short prayerful song called Breathe by Michael Smith. This is the air I breathe. Is the air I breathe, your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken in me, and I'm listening for you, and I'm living for you. Once again. This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. and I'm listening for you, and I'm living for you. I'm listening for you. I'm living for you. Let's allow ourselves to close our eyes and to become even more centered and still and alert to the power and presence of God within us. We take these moments in prayer to remember that highest of all truths, that living presence that is with us all, in all circumstances, under all conditions, this wisdom that is available to us to draw from, this guidance, this steadying peace, this abiding love that is with each one of us. We hold this high truth in mind and heart for all those in harm's way this morning. May they be guided to peace. May they be safe and well. Divine wisdom is flowing, making a way possible to peace and order among us, to kindness, to healing. In this time of emerging life, we remember that powerful healing energy, that mysterious power of growth and healing all around us, doing its amazing work, making all things possible. So we affirm that healing power and presence is steadily at work within us all, in all places, in every moment. The unfailing presence of God with us all. How grateful we are that we do not walk alone, and that in our very midst is this great power to transform, to grow us, to steady us, to lead us in the path of life and peace. So we come out of this time of prayer with grateful hearts and minds, knowing God is with us, which makes all things possible. And so it is. Amen. Well, we have, this is kind of a new song for us, isn't it? I had not heard of Anne Reed before. She's the singer of this song, and was grateful to learn about her music. She's a folk singer. She's been around a lot of years, I think, and just kind of fell in love with this song of hers. It's called A Song for the End of the Day, but it could be a song for the end of the week. It could be a song for the end of the year. It's kind of about our need to rest and take care of ourselves, I think. Song for the end of the day. All right. Riding home, the people in my brain are busy putting all the files away. I can hear their chatter begging me said, running in a loop inside my head. I tell them nicely, sit and rest a while, as I think ahead and I start to smile. People and their dogs all have a day. We'll make our way around the neighborhood and take a look at flowers in the gardens, and we'll say, let's plant yellow, red, and blue, 'cause our home would like the view. Let it fade away. It's been a very long day. Let it fade away. We might ask some friends to stop on by, or watch a show we've seen 100 times. Try hard not to think of how it goes. Tomorrow is today, soon you'll say, oh, how was your day, how did it go? Did everybody treat you like the precious soul you are? If that didn't happen, I suppose, when you step inside the door, that is what a home is for. Let it fade away. It's been a very long day. Let it fade away. It's been a very long day. Let it fade away. Pretty. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. For that song. Thank you. Isn't that a sweet one? Good one for the end of the day, good one for the end of a pandemic, good one for the end of anything, to remind us to relax, to take care of ourselves, to rest. We need that, don't we? Well, I don't know. I've been seeing all kinds of signs of spring. Even out of the midst of the winter gray and brown around us, and the seemingly bare trees, which nevertheless have a lot of buds on them if you look closely, and lots of signs of spring all around. I was looking at some of these quotes about spring. I like this one by Mark Twain. In the spring, I have counted 136 different kinds of weather inside of 24 hours. I think that's true. We're seeing a lot of it here in Ohio. Spring is nature's way of saying, let's party. That's Robin Williams. Like that. This is by somebody named Gertrude Wister. The flowers of late winter and early spring occupy places in our hearts well out of proportion to their size. I think that's true. These tiny little snowdrops are coming up everywhere right now. Tiny little things, but what a celebration, when you see them. Rainer Maria Rilke, one of my favorite poets, he said, "It is spring again. The earth is like a child that knows poems by heart. It knows how to do spring, and it's beautiful." And then I thought, we need a kid's riddle, of course. What flower does everyone have on their face?
Tulips.
Yay, good job, Barbara. Tulips. Very good. All right, I didn't think anyone would get that. Good job.
She wins.
She wins. We don't have any prizes, unfortunately. But you
A
win.
little cookie in the back.
Too bad. We should have some tulips for you. I should have done that.
You did, though.
Oh, I did. We brought some tulips to you last week. That's right. So spring is underway. It doesn't, it's not highly, it's not springing up like crazy yet, but it is there. And you can just sort of feel the energy is there. I had a chipmunk sitting on the front porch a couple of days ago. We're just kind of looking at each other through the window. He's like checking it out. The growing season is just ahead. We've been having for a week, red-winged blackbirds at our feeders. That's always a sign of spring when the red-winged blackbirds show up. And the snowdrops, of course, and even some daffodils up like this in the garden. So it's ready. The growing season is ready to begin again, and it's really how I see spring. Is it's a time of incredible growth that the earth knows how to do and does reliably every year, and it just happens, and it's amazing. The transformation is stunning, from brown and gray and snow and just barrenness. To wild eruption of green and color all around us. All those spring flowers are just dazzling in the color that comes forth. Oh, and we may welcome it, more than usual this year. We've had some rough weather this winter, and we're still emerging from a time of more kind of isolation, and I think we really welcome this season of growth. So it's a good time to think about that. And in what way are we in alignment with that? Are you preparing to grow and to emerge more into a greater fullness of life? And if so, what does that look like for you? In what ways are you stretching yourself or looking forward to expanding and growing this year? These are very auspicious times for growth. Kind of like that word auspicious. Would you like to say it with me? Auspicious. It's a good word for important, honorable, significant. That's all those kinds of things. And this particular week, in fact, through tomorrow's the last day of February, we've had all this past week, every day has been a palindrome. Have you been tracking that? 2/22/22. But all through the week, it's the same frontwards and backwards. Like today, 2/27/22, 2/27/22, frontwards and backwards. That won't happen again, according to the National Weather Service, for 400 years. And I don't know whether you put stock in this kind of thing, but all kinds of astrologers and numerologists are saying it's a time for, it's an auspicious time for growth and transformation. That you're expanding outward, bringing more elements into your sphere. It's an opportunity for those who choose it, an opportunity for new beginnings and transformation. So it just seems like a really good time here on the cusp of spring, with this energy among us and about to come out in greater and greater fullness. It's a good time to think about how and when to spring forth and how we work with that energy. I've always been fascinated with some stuff that they call in the scientific field emergence theory, how things emerge, how new things emerge, including us, but also all kinds of systems in the natural world as well as in culture. How do new things emerge? And there's some common things about that. But the biggest part of it is that spring and transformation and new beginnings really comes down to continuing to grow. We continue to grow, and we choose to continue to grow. I've always loved this quote from Carl Jung, and I'm paraphrasing it badly, I'm sure, but he said in one of his books that and he said it in a tone of amazement, that so many of the problems people have, they really don't solve, they just grow out of them. And that sounds like a ring of truth to it, don't you think? I think in our own lives we've tracked that. You just think of some of the problems, heavy problems, thorny problems you had earlier in life and so on. I'm not sure we necessarily figured them all out. We just kept growing and reached a point where those were no longer those thorny issues anymore. They just faded and weren't issues at all anymore. Continuing to grow. So a big part of how we become something new, and that could be healing work, that could be moving toward greater wholeness in some way, is that there's a choosing about it, there's an intention. But I think there's a little bit of a mystery about that, in that there's intention, but there's not plotting and planning. We choose to stay in the flow of life and to not resist change and to keep growing, but we don't tell the universe exactly how to fix everything and what to do. That's never worked for me, anyway. The universe really doesn't seem to follow my orders, as much as I might like. But we really can't explain our growth that way. We can't plan and plot it out in advance, and we can't really track it how it's happened either. I've often thought, when you look back at who you were 20 years ago, 25 years ago? How well do you recognize yourself? I look back and I think, I don't even know who I was 25 years ago. What were my, what was important to me? What was most important to me? What were my days like? What was it's really hard. We grow so much down through the years, just day by day, year by year. So we can't really plot our growth, but we can be willing to do it. There's a lovely scripture from Ephesians 4. Put on the new self. It implies intention. You can you can claim it, you can experience it, but I don't think you can detail it. You just have a willingness to grow, to keep growing. So how do we do that? I kind of have just a few basic steps about it, and I think these are things we just find ourselves doing instinctively as we move in and out of these seasons of growth. First one is trust your intuition on how you're meant to be growing right now, what kind of change is coming at your way, and how you're meant to respond to that and move through that. What's the timing of that for you, when it's right? All the animals around us know when it's time to grow, when it's time to emerge. Birds know when it's time to migrate. We'll be having the hummingbirds back in a little more than a month. They know when it's time to come back, like the red-winged blackbirds that showed up last week. They know instinctively. Our intuition is the same kind of thing. We know, too, when it's the right time. The woodchucks know when it's time to go down to den and when it's time to come out with their babies in tow, because they have them while they're in the den as it gets towards spring. There's, for all living things, there is an intuitive, instinctive awareness of when's time for growth and how you're meant to be growing right now. So using our intuition, are the conditions right for you to come out and spring forth in some new ways this year, this spring? Is there an energy in you to expand yourself in some way? We have having been through the last couple of years, I think we've been challenged. We've come out of this time a little differently. And I think there's even more of a restless energy in some ways. Would you agree? Wanting to get out more, wanting to do more, use our energies more. That's something to kind of we've been changed a little bit, and we're ready to spring forth in certain ways. So be in touch with that inner guidance and do whatever you need to do to stay in touch with it. Some people it's like morning quiet time. Some people it's like going for a walk or a run. Anything that keeps you in touch with the flow of your inner voice, your intuition, your inner wisdom. So trusting that, being alert to and trusting your intuition. The second one is, and we find ourselves doing this instinctively too, this is a phrase from emergence theory. Explore the adjacent possible. I always like that phrase, the adjacent, just next door kind of. The adjacent possible. That comes from an emergence researcher by the name of Stuart Kaufman. One of the ways we participate in our own growth and in our emergence is that we are alert for what's possible for us to do that stretches us a little bit, that's possible. It's kind of right here. It's just like a next step. And we're alert for that adjacent possible. Because quite often the way growth works in our lives, it's not a huge jump. We don't put on a new self, boom, like that. All of a sudden we're different. It's more in little steps, little changes, little adaptations. We make a choice to take a class. We have some folks joining in on a practicing meditation class recently. That was a little choice those people made to deepen their inner connection a little bit more. That can lead to yet another choice, and then another choice. And this is how we build a new self, a new life in so many ways. Deciding to join a church, deciding you want to sing. Maybe you're going to take some singing lessons. Deciding you want to write. Maybe there's a writing project you want to take up. Maybe it's you want to spend more time outdoors. Little adaptive choices from within where you are. And often there are certain limitations connected with where we are right now. How much time we have, what our circumstances are, what our resources are. But given that, what is it possible for you to do? Because there's always things. And explore that adjacent possible. If you have an itch to grow in some way, take a look at that. What's a possibility for you to step out a little bit? I was thinking of people I know, the amazing ways that has worked in their lives as well as my own, but I tell you too many of my stories. I was thinking about some other stories about this emergence, this growth happening little by using your intuition and by exploring the adjacent possible. I was thinking about one of my beautiful nieces. I have a couple, and one of my nieces is an expert on, she's a certified lactation specialist. She gets referrals from the hospital, any new mothers who are having problems with nursing and so on. But it's interesting how that evolved in her life. She has quite a busy practice now. But she started a family fairly early, had 4 children in kind of regular sequence for many years, and became a very strong advocate of natural parenting and so on. For a while she had a blog about it, and with all kinds of advice and guidance sharing with others about parenting and nursing and issues related to having small children. And then she began to take some classes and become certified. And while she was doing that, she wrote a little book, partnered with an illustrator, a children's book on weaning little ones. It's become very popular because within the limitations she was working with, she was a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids, not able to go out and do things and wanting to help out with finances, laboring under student loans and things like that so many people deal with. So the adjacent possible was, I can do this. I can do this from home. I can do a blog. I can do that on the computer. I can write this book. I can correspond and do communications related to it. That's possible. That's the adjacent possible. And then started a practice of helping new mothers with having nursing problems, and then moved to another area, and that business began to grow more and more, out more seeing clients as her kids have gotten older. Whatever the constraints are within where we're working, there are still many things possible, the adjacent possible. And as we turn our attention to what can I do now from where I am right now, things grow from there. And the adjacent possible is always expanding. I think it's exciting. My niece now has quite a busy practice. It is helping young mothers all around her area and getting referrals from the hospital. It's beautiful work. It's work that's quite a service. And it emerged through this step-by-step, I can do this, I can do that, and then it leads to this and to that, and all of a sudden got this new person, this new work, this new self has been put on. That's happening for all of us, all the time. So trusting our intuition and exploring the adjacent possible, whatever our circumstances, wherever we are in life, what can I do? What's available to me to step out and to grow in some new ways? And then the third one is to stay tuned, to trust that one thing always leads to another. The adjacent possible is always expanding more as we just step forward day by day and thinking, well, I can do this, or I'd like to try that. It always leads to something else, and then something else. Growth is in us and all around us, it's a principle of life. We're not static creatures. There's an energy in us about growth too, pulling us to it, guiding us in it, and opportunities arising. And there's a mystery about how it comes, because the power and presence of God is right there in the midst of it. Somehow or other bringing along the right opportunity at the right time and directing us from within to take note of that. That could be for me. That's the way I want to be. That's something I want in my life. That's coming up from within us. And a key thing to remember about spring also, and it's really at all times, is that there is so much more possible than we can see at the moment. Beneath the surface, somewhat hidden from our sight. I've always loved the scripture from Jesus. It's a teaching moment with his disciples, and they're looking out at a barren field, probably like what we have today. And he says to them, you say 4 months more before the harvest, but I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They're ripe for harvest. He saw the emergence ready to fill out and emerge in a big way And I think that's true often. Where we see barrenness, where we see hopelessness, there's life, and there are infinite possibilities. So we hold that for ourselves, for our world, for our loved ones, for living beings across the planet. New growth, transformation, peace, wholeness, healing. Amazing things are possible as we affirm that and remember that power and presence at work within us all. So let's take that into a closing prayer if we could, and affirm that highest of all truths. This focus, this energy, this growing energy within us all, this life that comes direct from God in us and is with us all, in all places, in all circumstances. A vibrant, powerful, healing energy, a creative energy that is creating new things and new selves day after day. We are alert to that power and presence. We are ready to follow its guidance from within us. We affirm our awareness that that power and presence is with living beings across the globe doing a powerful healing work right now. We are grateful that we are not walking alone here, that we are at all times filled and surrounded by the power and presence of God. And so it is. Amen. Can I hear an amen?
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we have one more song, and then we'll invite Linda to do a few announcements for us. This is a song we did a lot when we were kind of shut down and doing services from home. You might remember it. We did it a number of times. It's a Janice Ian song called Better Times Will Come. Just thought it was a good one to resurrect this morning. This is a version, I think, done by Cheryl Wheeler, but Janice Ian wrote the song. If you know it and want to sing along wherever you are, join in with us. There's another page back here, isn't there? Joe looks springy today.
Better times will come. Better times will come. When this world learns to live as one, oh, better times will come. When we greet each dawn without fear, knowing loved ones soon will be near. When the winds of war cannot blow anymore, oh, better times will come. Better times will come. Better times will come. When this world learns to live as one, oh, better times will come. Though we live each day as our last, we know someday